Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Wolves panel discussion. I'm Eric Smigel, Chair of Arts Alive SDSU, and we will be recording this event, which will soon be available on our YouTube channel. We will begin today with the Kumi land acknowledgement. For millennia, the Kumi people have been part of this land. This land has nourished, healed, protected, and embraced them for many generations in a relationship of balance and harmony. As members of the San Diego State community, we acknowledge this legacy. We promote this balance and harmony. We find inspiration from this land, the land of the Kumi. So I'm pleased to welcome you, live people, to our first event in this semester's Arts Alive SDSU Discovery Series, which is an annual selection of events that address socio-political and cultural issues through the visual and performing arts. We're delighted to continue our partnership this semester with One SDSU, who is sponsoring these interdisciplinary panel discussions. And I'd like to thank in particular Amaris Gonzalez and the team at the Center for Student Organizations and Activities for their ongoing support of arts programming across campus. Today's discussion focuses on The Wolves, an SDSU production of an original play by Sarah DeLapp. The play explores the challenges of young womanhood through the lens of a high school soccer team, which invites comparisons between the highly disciplined and embodied practices of athletics and theater. It's now my pleasure to introduce our panelists. Professor Jesca Prudencio from the School of Theater, Television, and Film, and director of the SDSU production of The Wolves. Randi McKenzie, Emerita Assistant Dean from the College of Professional Studies and Fine Arts, who will be moderating our session. Student athlete Jenna West, who is a member of the SDSU women's soccer team. And our special guest artist, actor, and personal trainer, Bibi Mama.
Great. Yay! Yay. Well, welcome here. I'd like to introduce our panel members a little bit more. Jenna West is a freshman. She's a defender on the Division I SDSU women's soccer team. She's from Concord, California, attended Clayton Valley Charter High School, and is a pre-business administration student. She was on the dean's list in the fall semester, and if she continues to earn the grades that she did, she will graduate summa cum laude. Woo! She enjoys playing with her younger sister, Manny, and ran the 100 and 440s at track in high school. Bibi Mama recently performed at the Old Globe Theater in Trouble in Mind. Bibi has taken her work across the country and off-Broadway. She worked primarily in Washington, D.C., New York City, and California. She completed her MFA in acting at the University of San Diego in the Old Globe program. She earned her BFA from Howard University with a concentration in musical theater and minored in psychology. She graduated summa cum laude from the honors program. In addition to theater, Bibi is a certified personal trainer with the National Academy of Sports Medicine and is a fitness model and coach. My colleague, Jesca Prudencio, is director, choreographer, a community-based artist. She is dedicated to developing new theatrical works that humanize issues and explore the tensions between cultures. She focuses on new plays, musicals, film, and dance theater in New York, regionally and internationally. She has developed new work at the Kennedy Center, the La Jolla Playhouse, West End Players, the Lark, MAMT, Assembly Studio Theater, Space on Ryder Farm, the Exchange at the Old Vic, Joe's Pub and Movement Theater Company. She's a recipient of the T.S. Eliot US UK project, Exchange at the Old Vic, the Drama League Film Fellow, and the 2018 Artist in Residence at the Performance Project at the University Settlement in Manhattan. Jesca is the inaugural recipient of the Julia Taymor World Theater Fellowship which supported her travels through Thailand, Japan, and the Philippines throughout 2017. As she researches and trains in traditional and contemporary forms of theater in each country. She was recently named the 2021 Woman to Watch on Broadway. As an educator, she has taught workshops at numerous universities and institutions across the United States and Asia, including the Oregon Shakespeare Festival, BAM, and the Smithsonian. Jesca is currently on faculty as head of directing at SDSU and holds a BFA in drama from NYU Tisch and an MFA in directing from UC San Diego. My name is Randi McKenzie. I'm an Emerita Assistant Dean from Student Affairs from the College of Professional Studies and Fine Arts, and I'm a cast member in The Wolves. My background is in kinesiology and psychology, and I have taught, coached, and participated in sports and athletics my whole life. I participated in varsity field hockey, fencing, badminton, taught activities classes at 4 universities and 2 community colleges. I've been certified as a national coach in archery, bowling, unarmed combat, rapier and dagger, and small sword through the Society of American Fight Directors. And as a competitive fencer, I was a national champion in over 40s, as well as placing second in the nation in women's saber fencing. My last exciting sports activity was teaching private archery lessons to Roberto de la Madrid, the late governor of Baja California Norte. So we've got a great panel here for you today. So Jesca, I want to start off with you.
Yeah.
Could you tell us a little bit about the Wolves and why this particular project at SDSU now?
Yes, happy to speak about that. Yeah, the Wolves follows a team of a high school girls soccer team. It follows them, and they're playing indoor. It follows we watch them warm up, get ready for a game. We watch them over a series of 6 weeks. And we see them connect, relate, need each other, fight, break up, lose each other, and connect again. Ultimately, it's an ensemble piece. There's not one lead in it. Every one of the 10 actors are equal in this production. We're also seeing conversations that we're not supposed to hear. Even in this, where we're having this panel now, we're on the field. We're on the production stage, and we're exactly that. We're on the field, right in the middle of the action, not away from it. We're right in the middle of it because we're hearing the things that really affect high school women right now in a hard, truthful way. So it's funny, it's fast-paced, it's heartbreaking, and ultimately it's authentic. And I'm so grateful to be bringing this production to the school. I wanted to bring it, so many reasons why I want to do this production now. I've been wanting to direct this show ever since it came out about 5 years ago, and it just took the world by storm, honestly. And I was mostly interested in it because I am interested in form. I've studied different things and movement forms all over the world. So the idea of doing soccer and theater was very exciting to me. So I was excited by the idea of soccerography, possibly. Also, coming out of the pandemic or being virtual, I'm craving community. I'm craving sharing space. I'm craving being active. I'm craving needing my people. And that's ultimately what we learn from this show, is that we need each other. As hard as it is, we need each other. We're not meant to do this in isolation. So this production has given me the opportunity to work with a fantastic group of female identifying artists all around. We've been able to collaborate with these amazing professionals, which we'll be talking more about in this panel. And I've been able to work with our actors and push them and explore a whole new form, which is soccer. And then also we're meeting our bodies in a new way too. So many reasons why, but ultimately it's about coming together and working together.
Thank you. You brought two colleagues with you.
Yes.
Who are with us today. Bibi was brought in.
Yes.
What is your relationship with her, and what role did she play in this production?
Yes, so Bibi and I met while she was at USD in the MFA program, and I directed a Thornton Wilder piece, Our Town. And so Bibi was in it, and we really clicked. And in getting to know Bibi as an artist, and also soon after as a friend, I was so excited by how she works with her body as an artist and also as an athlete, and being a personal trainer. And so we've connected around that. I brought Bibi into my classes, in my movement classes. So we've also engaged in the classroom together. And I've just seen Bibi's career just shoot up and grow since she graduated. So she just closed a show at the Old Globe. So I thought this was going to be a perfect collaboration for us. So Bibi has come in with her expertise in personal training. She's come in and created the stretch warm-up for us, and also worked on form, because we are athletic in our own degrees, but Bibi's also making sure that we have the endurance, and we are looking at safety when it comes to form and movement.
So you also brought in Jenna.
Yes.
Speaking of form and movement.
Yes.
Who is from our SDSU soccer team. What role did she and her colleagues play in this production?
Yes. I'm always so excited when Jenna and her teammates come. I know they're students, but I'm like, oh my gosh, the women's soccer team is here. I totally freak out. So I'm like, hi, Jenna. Hi. So happy to see you. But truly, just learning about what happens, how it works, and what they are going through in the women's soccer team here has been incredible. So that's another reason why I want to do the show, because we have a great theater program, we have a great arts program, and we have a great athletic program. And it's about time that we collaborate, and it happened. It finally happened in this show. This production allowed for that. So grateful for all the people that made it happen, especially Arts Alive. And so Jenna and her two teammates have come in, and we were able to talk with them and engage and ask questions about their life on the women's soccer team. And they've also basically trained us. They made our team look like soccer players in the last few weeks. So they are officially our soccer specialists who have been brought in to help us.
So Bibi, and then Jenna after, tell us about your role and what discoveries you had in working with our actors.
First of all, thank you, Jesca, for bringing me in. This is like my dream as a storyteller, being able to bring my athletic self and my storyteller actor self together has been really, really rewarding. So thank you. Like Jesca said, as a fitness professional and an actor, I sort of get to bring the perspective of both worlds. And what I was looking for was how the movement was serving the story, and then what the story was requesting from the actors in terms of movement, and how we could do it in a way that was truthful and safe. And and that just felt comfortable on everybody's body. So being able to come in on our first day, we did a little bit of a warm-up because I wanted to get them just like in their bodies. We got to sweat a little bit. It was fun. And then I got to watch them move and just, throw some ideas out there, try some things on them, take some things off. And they really did the hard work in coming up with this this warm-up sequence that you'll see. And just watching them incorporate the little tidbits I gave them as they moved through the stage has been really rewarding and cool.
Now, Jenna, have you ever participated in theater, and what was it like for you to come in and work with actors here at SDSU?
Yeah, so I have never really done anything on the side of acting. So this was totally a new experience for me. I have always been the soccer player, the track runner. I've never been on that side of production before. So just coming in and seeing that this movement isn't familiar to everyone was really eye-opening for me. I also just felt like I was a part of something bigger than just soccer, which was just, it was super heartwarming to feel like I could, be involved in theater and other aspects around the SDSU community instead of just athletics.
So might this be something, you mentioned that you were expanding your business background to do film. Do you see this as potential training for work that you might do in the film industry later on?
Yeah, for sure. It has definitely led me to experience more and kind of open my eyes up to more opportunities and more routes for me to take in the future.
Excellent. So we have one question, I guess, that relates to teams, in acting, unless, well, even if one is doing a one-person show, there's a team involved in that. And likewise, if one is playing in a team sport, likewise, that's involved. Could you share with us what that's like working in that team environment? What it's like for you as an athlete to be on a team, and what it means to you and those relationships, and what it's like to be actor, trainer, producer, to work with your team as well. So Jenna, I'm going to stick with you on your side. What's it like to be on a team?
It can be, there's a lot of ups and downs. So on one side of it, you want to help the team out and be a better player for the team because it's a team sport. Soccer is a team sport. So if you're not doing well, the team's not doing well. That means showing up to practice with energy. If you have energy, everybody else around you will have energy. If you're helping teammates out on the side with whether that's school or soccer, it's going to better the team. And every action you have on and off the field betters the team. So I would just say that, being a part of a team, you all have to collaborate. You all have to be together as one. And there's no solo, star of the show in soccer.
Bibi, how do you relate to that as an actor?
Ooh. In a complicated way is the answer. It's like Jenna said, there are ups and downs. I think what I love about being a storyteller and then a fitness professional is the collaborative element. How we just get to have ideas and share, and how your perspective broadens when you are sharing ideas with people and collaborating, and the learning that takes place. And I think it becomes difficult when inevitable conflict arises and compromises have to take place. And I also think it may be difficult in acknowledging that as a part of a team, you serve a specific role. One soccer player can't play all the positions on the field. So acknowledging your strengths and then being honest about your weaknesses too, which I think can be challenging, but I think in the greater picture, being really clear about what those are really benefits the whole. So yeah, complicated.
Now,
Yeah.
Jesca, you have a big team.
Yes.
You have your cast, but then you
Yes.
also have the crew and the facilities and
Yeah.
everything else that goes along with
Yeah.
it. What's it like being, I always think team captain. What is it like being captain of this team in this project?
I really do see myself as a coach. I have to be honest that over the years, people have joked, actors have joked, and they're like, "Okay, coach." And so it's funny that I'm finding myself here and really taking on that role, or even learning what it takes to be a coach, and hearing stories of people and having great coaches and how that relates to being a great director or leader in some way. But ultimately, I'm there. My job, I feel, is to cultivate the team. That I am part of the team, but I see my actors. I see even the show that's going to run without me, or any show that I do. I want to make sure that everyone feels connected and clear and on task and that they're able to grow together without me. So, which is hard. It's always hard to step away from that. But yeah, I feel like my role is to cultivate the team and the ensemble. And if I feel that if there's rockiness or tension or someone is off, I have to go in there and sort that out, because that's how I need to facilitate the smooth teamwork. So yeah, facilitator of teamwork, I feel.
I've had the lovely opportunity to have a chance to work with you in this
Yes.
environment. And one of the things that so impresses me about watching you as a director is how open to everyone you are. I have always felt that you listen to whatever the comment, whatever the suggestion, whatever the idea is. Oh, well, let's try that. You know, let's look at it. Let's try it. Not all coaches are open to any feedback. Sometimes it is my way only, and that's it. And to me, you capture that rare ability to absolutely, you are in charge. There is no doubt about who's in charge.
Right.
And when Jesca wants things quiet, it's quiet. And we listen and follow.
Yeah.
But there's also an openness that I haven't necessarily experienced in sport, where sometimes the coach knows best and knows all. And I find that very refreshing to be in that environment,
Right.
where everyone feels comfortable that they have a say
Yes.
in what it is that's happening.
That's right. That's important to me, that it's a space of listening, but also it needs to be a space of leadership. So one of my points of view when it comes to creating work is best idea wins. But who gets to decide the best idea? I decide what the best idea is, right? So everyone contributes, but ultimately someone has to make a decision. Because if we collectively decide, it gets a little, it could be really dangerous. We do need leadership, but everyone does need to be heard. That is really important to me. And even the best moments in this show has come from just actors being silly on a break, or someone saying, let's try, I have an idea. So absolutely, everyone's ideas are in this show.
I would like to hop in here. Having worked with Jesca as an actor, I think one of the things that makes her so special and the best kind of director is that she listens and she observes, and because of that, as an actor in the room, your ideas feel valuable, and then you feel confident enough to like share and play and be wrong.
Yes.
You know, like
Yes.
not every idea is going to work, but there are no bad ideas. It either works or it doesn't.
Exactly.
So I think that's a really, like, you don't see that all the time. So I just want to speak to that.
Thank you.
What I also see is there's a term that's called successive approximations. And it's something that's done in athletics as well. As you start with small pieces and you build them together and together and together. And eventually you may have a team or a game or a plan. And I see that you do that as well in
Yes.
the directing, is that you start, let me ask you, what are those small pieces that you work on that eventually get to this production?
Yeah, well, number one, it's a very physical production. There's going to be a lot of movement and all these things that involve the staging to make the staging as dynamic as it is. So I have this exciting vision for it. But if I start there, and that's all it's going to be about, we don't know who we are, what we're saying, we're not going to know anything about the character, so I have to start with the text. So I start by building the story, the characters, the relationships. And that took a long time for us to do, because as you will all experience, the way 16-year-old girls talk it's so accurate. It's a really difficult script. They're just constantly cutting people off and talking over each other, and it's written quite musically, actually, on the page, like an orchestra of young voices. So first I build a character, and then we do the rough staging, and then we build the details. So that's when Jenna and her teammates came in to get more specific about the soccer towards the end of the process, and Bibi came in to start to fine tune, because I didn't want them to worry about soccer form on day one. So it was all strategic, because even they were antsy, like, when are we gonna learn soccer? When are we gonna set it? When are we gonna set it? And I was like, we will, when we're ready for it, but we're not ready for it. We don't know who we're still working on the characters. So yeah, that idea of building, you know, and even working with Jenna, like there was these bigger, broad strokes of like, it's so basic to them, but us, we were like, so how does the foot hit the, you know? And then we got that far, and then we're just like, what do your arms do? And they're like, your arms are just there, you know, like, because we're, you know, so we're analyzing everything. But even then, even in our sessions with Jenna, they were able to build and scaffold, you know, what it takes for us to make us look cool in a short amount of time. So it was great.
So we have two elements. We have an acting element and we have an athletic
Yes,
element.
that's right.
Having had the chance to experience both in different ways, how do you see commonalities in terms of training for athletics as well as training for theater? So Jen, I'm going to start with you down there.
Well, I would say training for athletics is similar to theater in the way that we were going over. You're all team, you're all working together to build something great. So just taking those small steps, similar we do in soccer. Even when you're at the highest level, you're still taking small steps to be the best you can be all the time. So whether that's in a game, you know, going back and looking at film and taking small steps to kind of critique yourself and as a whole get better at those weaknesses. And even with practices, just warming up first, you're taking small steps to kind of build into that higher intensity workouts. So I would say the similar aspects of it is that, you know, you're taking small steps, you're working as a team. And then I think the differences are really just athletics too. It depends on the sport, but you know, there's not like the sole spot too. You're kind of, it's not like one person is shining all the time. Everybody has their different things that they bring to the table.
Yeah, I feel like I sort of live it as a fitness professional and a theater maker. I think the first thing for me is the body as the instrument. As an athlete, this is my tool. This is what I have to work with, and it's my responsibility to keep it in condition to do the work. And then as an actor, you know, this is the vessel through which I tell the story. So making sure that I'm keeping myself in condition to be able to tell stories the way that I want to. So I feel like my athlete self and my actor self inform each other in that way. And then zooming out just a little bit, I think discipline is something that comes into play in both worlds. There are days I do not want to get up at 5 a.m. and go to the gym. Most days I don't want to get up at 5 a.m. and go to the gym, but I understand that, so I specialize in functional training, so helping people move better in their lives. I understand that in order to reach my goals, I have to be consistent, and keeping that bigger picture in mind is great. Same thing in acting, you know. Sometimes I don't want to do the audition, and that's usually the audition that gets me the gig, or sometimes I don't want to stay up late and memorize my lines, but I know that we're working on that scene the next day, and I have to do my part and have the discipline to do that. So yeah, they're really, really similar for me, and I feel like as I work on skills in both worlds, they strengthen each other. So I feel really grateful to have that sort of relationship as an athlete and an actor.
So you talk about the importance of body. We have only one.
Yep.
It breaks.
Yep.
Often it breaks, and sometimes that may mean the end of a career. It could be in sport. It could be in acting as well. How do you manage? How do you manage that, say, concern or potential fear that may come from this is the body I have, and it's not what it might be?
That's a great question.
The this happens all the time. I mean, we had a girl come in right at the summer. She was a first year, and right off the bat, like I think we were 2 practices in, she tore her ACL, and that was kind of it for her. Now she's been out, and she won't be back till next year, and so her season is just taken away, and it's super heartbreaking when that does happen. But I look at this where soccer isn't the only thing I have in my life. I'm a friend, I'm a sister, I'm an athlete, but that's not the only thing I am. So just kind of having a backup plan for everything and realizing that soccer isn't my whole life. It's just a big part of it.
Yeah, I have to say, so I was thinking about injury, and even that comes up in the show. And I was thinking about, I realized in high school, I had a vocal cord injury. It didn't hit me until I was thinking about this panel. So I was on, I had the lead in the musical. I was a senior, and I was really hoarse, and I couldn't sing anymore. And it's because I was doing so many things. I was just pushing myself too hard. And I couldn't sing anymore. And so I had to go on extreme vocal rest. So I didn't say a word for 2 months. Not one word, and this is high school. And so like I broke up my boyfriend at the time. We weren't we didn't have phones the way we did, so texting was hard, but I had to text more, and I had to write all my answers for school, and that's actually how I got into directing, because I stepped back and off the stage, and I just was watching beside the director. So in a way, it created an opportunity for me, and my voice came back, and it came back in a different way. Even the voice I have now is different than what it was in high school before the injury, in a great way. So I had to do voice. I saw several voice therapists, and I had to figure out how to find my voice again. So it was interesting. I think like that is a big injury that happens for actors, and that is it. Like that's it. Once you lose your voice, especially for singers too, you're out. So yeah, it's interesting, like what our instrument is in order for us to do our work, and it's a physical thing. And once that's taken away because of using it while you're working, that it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking, absolutely. But it created opportunity for me. So.
One of the things that Jenna brought up was about injury, but she also brought up this wonderful component that I don't hear with all athletes, and that is a balance. So she said, I'm not just a soccer player, I'm a sister, I'm a friend, I have this and I have that. And for so many young people, athletics is their thing. We often identify what we do with who we are. I am the teacher, I am the fencer, I am the actor. And when you lose that thing that you identify with, it's really a serious loss that someone has. Mm-hmm. One of the roles as an assistant dean was to advise students who sometimes were in academic challenge. And sometimes I would chat with students who through injury instantly lost their scholarship, instantly lost their team. And once a student is off a team, it's almost like a divorce. There isn't any coaching back to the real world. You played, your body's not good anymore, you're now on your own. And I do think that's really challenging to how to deal with it. So I'd say, Bibi, how have you maintained a balance between your acting career and the rest of the world, so that should one go away or not, you still can be a for real human that has a life beyond this immediate activity you're doing?
It's a great question and a challenging question, but I'm willing to take it on. I think the pandemic has taught us a lot of things, and especially for actors, anybody who works in a collaborative way, all of a sudden we were divorced from our community and forced into this weird isolation. And I think a lot of us had to think about who we are when we're not doing the thing that we identify so closely with. I'm grateful for that perspective, because it really allowed me to develop other parts of myself. To answer the question, I think the way I maintain a healthy balance is by creating healthy boundaries. I always make time for myself. And I'm fortunate in that, like, so I'm a trainer, I teach classes, I train clients, but I also make sure that I do it just for me as well. I love a long run, not even just for the physical aspect, but just for, you know, my mental aspect, making sure I do that. And then with acting being my work as a theater maker, I have work hours. I won't work before 9 a.m. and I won't work after 9 p.m. Emails can wait, texts can wait, and just staying curious about myself. Like, what do I like? I'm knitting a hat. I love it. I'm almost done. I haven't done that in 10, almost 11 years. So like, that's cool. I just closed a show and I was having a really hard time. One of the costumers was helping me with it and I just wasn't getting it done. And the show closed, it's been 2 days and now it's almost done. So it's like, it's cool just to like, you know, just be interested in other things and like I said, staying curious about myself so that there's always something else, you know, even if it's not work. Yeah.
So I want to lay that back to you, Jesca.
Woo!
Yes. Now, I had the opportunity to come at a certain time, but you're there before. You're there during the email.
Yes.
I leave, you're there.
Yes.
How do you find a balance in your life
Yes.
when you are doing the things that the actors don't even see?
Yes. I have actually I will lift myself and say I've gotten really good about balance since the pandemic, for sure. I work really hard, and when I always say I'm really bad at multitasking, because when you're with me, you are the only person that matters. Like this is all that matters when I'm here. Other things slip away, and then when I'm doing something else, I'm doing something else. But I will say, yeah, I know it's intense this week. I know, or even the weeks that we're rehearsing, this is a big chunk of my focus, and then it won't be, you know, and that's just how it is. Another show will take my attention, or another project. So I know I've sort of budgeted my time and energy, and I'll just quickly share that meditation is everything for me. I also train in Muay Thai, kickboxing, so I train with a local professional once a week, and that's really important for my soul and energy. And I cook and I bake a lot, so
She's good. Those cookies
I'm really good at it. No, I really enjoy it. I cook from my heart and soul. And then finally, I have a dog, and she's my heart. So, yeah.
Okay. I'm going to shift areas a little bit.
Yeah.
And that relates to fighting for a spot on your team or on a spot as a part.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things as an athlete growing up, I really disliked competition. I never got off on beating anyone. It was never, yes, I'm second in the country. It's like, oh, yes, I beat you. More likely it was, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You know. So I never cared for the competition. I liked the process. I liked the training. I like doing things well.
Yes.
And in, say, 26 years of fencing, I can remember 2 touches that were really exciting, that were unstoppable and were perfect. And so when I decided not to fence anymore and got brave enough to take feedback at 37, I thought I'd try acting. But I didn't know anything about that. And I thought, well, this is collaborative. Oh, this is good. People work together. This is nice, but it's not nice until you get a part. So can you talk about what it's like in terms of competition for roles and positions and part, different from then, now you're together as a group?
Yeah.
So the pre-stuff.
You want me to go? You want to go?
I'll go.
Okay.
So every day when I show up to practice, I mean, it's a competition. You're fighting for a spot on that team. There's about 24 girls on the team, so there's 4 different girls in my position alone. But I would really just say that every day, you know, I show up to practice, I'm in the right mindset, and I put all I have into that one practice. and just give it my all and fight for my spot. But I've really always enjoyed competition. Before I was a track runner, so it was always not with the team, it was just one-on-one, and I've always really enjoyed it. It's kind of been my drive. You know, they beat me one race, okay, I'll go back and beat them next meet. But now coming in, well, before in high school too, it was always competition because you go to showcases and college coaches are scouting you out. So you're really playing against your teammates too, which is hard because you want to work together as a team and you want to win, but you also want to show off at the same time. So I've always competed in that aspect too, but then once you get to college, it's all about team. You're not competing for a spot anymore, unless you want to go pro, but that's not where I'm headed. So it's really just now focusing on being together and all putting our all out there for the team.
But in some ways, you are competing. If there are 4 people who want your spot, yes, there's team, but there's 3 others who would really like to be in your shoes.
Yeah.
That has to be challenging as well
Yeah,
for the person on the sideline.
Yep. So there's always a balance. You know, you want to work for your team, but then you're also competing for your spot every day in practice.
Wow. Should write a book about that.
Yeah.
That's great.
How about for you?
I think like you, I'm not really interested in competition, especially when it comes to my work as a storyteller. The only person I'm interested in competing with is myself and the clock in the gym. Because I've come to a place where if I don't get something, well, let me say this. I think I've gotten really good at holding myself up to a standard and being aware of what I'm capable of. So in my preparation, I'm speaking specifically in auditions. I know when I've gotten myself to the place I know I can get. And if I get to that place and then I present that and I get the job, awesome. If I get to that place and I present that and I don't get the job, I'm like, okay, well, maybe I just wasn't the best fit. However, it gets hard when I don't hold myself up to that standard. And then I do work that I know isn't great. And I'm like, ugh, I know I could do better. That's really where my sense of competition is. And then I grew up a runner, so cross country it's interesting. It's sort of like a personal, like an individual sport, but it's also a team sport. But it was always me and the clock. So just like figuring out. So I was, as a runner, I'm really good at hills. I'm not very good at flats. So knowing that, like, if there's a hilly course, I can come in top 5. If there's a flat course, I gotta work. So like training and being like, you gotta do your flats, you know, like, and holding myself accountable, knowing where I need to put my focus and where I need to, really push myself. And also putting myself in positions with people that are better than me and figuring out what I can learn from them. And seeing them less as competition, more as teachers. I think that's been really, really good, especially on the stage, because no one wins in a play. I mean, and you can feel when in an ensemble when someone wants to be like, look at me, and it doesn't help the story. But looking at my peers as teachers, oh, they're really good at that. How can I get some of that? Or, oh, I've never seen that before. What happens if I try that? That has been a really healthy way for me to engage in this sort of competitive and collaborative world.
Jessica, how about you?
I'm very competitive. I think it's, and I'm really hard on myself. I really want to be the best, and I want my next show to be better than the last show. And I want this production to be the best it's of any production of the Wolves ever. You know, so I think I have that in me. So it does help drive me to be my best, wanting to be better, and not in putting anyone down or any other production or anyone down, but I think it's part of how I was raised, just striving to be the best. Because even I came from a family of doctors, generations of people in the healthcare, and they said, yes, go ahead and be an artist, but you have to be the best. So I think that is just, it's in me to just be like, and also like, even I think it was like wanting to go to the best school under, directing. I studied directing in undergrad, and I want to go to the best directing school, and I want to go to the best graduates program. And so I was just very, very doing everything I could to get to this. So I will say, yeah, I'm pretty competitive, but I don't let anyone see that. I just come in and have a night, but inside I'm like, better. You can do better.
Now I understand, is there some video clip?
I don't know if I feel comfortable.
I hope they finish construction soon.
Yeah, that porta potty is so disgusting. Yeah, last week after the game, someone was in there for like ever. But I really had to go, and they finally opened the door. You won't believe who it was. Louise. No. Yeah. Oh yeah, Louise.
Louise Peterson?
Yep. What was she doing here? And of course, she thinks like huge and dumb. Did not need to know that.
I think she's sort of cool.
Do what? She's so weird.
I don't know.
She smells like cigarettes. She has such a weird, creepy laugh. She sits behind me and freak out. There's a weird, creepy laugh. And her hair. She has weird hair. It's like, oh,
Yeah. Okay. I don't know. I think she's sort of different.
oh, Louise. I just think you're sort of different.
Oh my God, you guys. Okay, you're more being so immature. We're actually really smart. Actually, we're the same age.
I think you might hurt. You said yogurt. I think you meant yurt. I live in a yurt with my mom. You can't really live in a yogurt. Hey, I saw the goalie outside. I think she's vomiting. Whoa! Stop!
Yeah, she does that before every game.
Stop talking. I totally cleaned up.
It's a nervous condition.
It's disgusting. It is what it is.
She's like super high functioning.
Basically,
She's a 4.9 and that's the East Gazette.
I'm a columnist.
she's a 4.9 and plays the saxophone at State Youth Orchestra.
Oh, and leads Model UN.
And is like crippling sad.
She's not very sad.
No, like sad, like SDSU social anxiety disorder.
Oh, well, that explains that, I guess. Yeah, I think there's a bird in the air dome.
That happens sometimes.
Weird. I would not want to be here if there's a bird in the air dome. Have you seen a balloon pop before? I think it's more complicated than that. You can tell by the rusty planks. Hey, so who knows about seventh abortion?
Don't say stuff like that.
That was just picking. That's not what I heard. No, I'm pretty sure it was a pig.
Maybe she had an abortion and took a pill.
Come on, guys.
What are the possibilities? Definite possibilities.
Are we talking about 2 months ago when Dan came home for Thanksgiving?
Yeah.
No, that was definitely Plan B. How do you know? Miss Armenia told me. That's gonna go around telling people she got an abortion. What's Plan B? Guys, what's Plan B?
Oh, hey, look who's back.
Hey! Hello!
Were you guys talking about us or something? Whatever.
Big news, guys.
My mom brought
orange slices.
Your mom's best.
She's like the total best.
Oh my gosh.
Totally. Orange slices. Guys, remember when?
We all remember orange slices.
Oh my god. They're delicious.
Don't eat too many, ladies. No side cramps out there.
Hey, Dad. Look. Mom. Oh, what about that?
Wait! We should take a picture. Does anyone have their phone? Mine's dead. What?
Give me that. The tie-dye one of it.
What?
Radiation. The tie-dye one. The turquoisey one.
I'd like to open up the session for anyone in the audience who may have questions of the actors about anything that you have heard regarding their art, their practice, being on teams, being in theater performances, as well as about the show.
Hi, I'm Shelley. I also Jesca is my colleague and friend. So I'd like to reflect on the title of the play because I had my sons here with me and I thought they could stay for part, so that was good. So I was like, so it's called The Wolves, but it's not actually about wolves. But you know, it's like to a 10-year-old, it's not actually about wolves. It's about but I think that the title, as simple as it is deceptive in that way. And so
Yes.
I would love to have perhaps Jesca, especially Randi and
Yeah.
in the cast, but anybody to reflect on the title.
Okay, so the question was about the title of the play, and what does that have to do with it, and reflecting on the meaning for this particular production.
Right. I know what it meant for me, which was just seeing how vicious we can be. And at the end of the day, when we're sort of stripped of our technologies and maybe even identities, wearing a uniform and playing the same game, and fighting to win, and working in a pack, how all the things we talk about a team, it's thinking about that as a wolf pack. And I've actually taken that idea so far in the production that you see the players transform into wolves regularly in the production, which is not written into the script, but that's part of my vision, is wanting to let these people who are so engrossed in their problems and each other and wanting to impress or not, or be truthful or not, or trying to figure out who they are, just letting them be animals and letting them be just beings, just trying to fight for themselves and fight for each other. So I've actually taken that concept very far. So far that even in the audition, I had all the actors, they shared they read the text of this play, and then I had them transform into wolves in the audition. And so you'll see that release, that really exciting movement work in the show. So yes, that's what wolves are for the production. Yeah, it's a great question.
And it's the name of their team, right?
Yes, it is.
So it's a team name, but it also to me is characteristic of how wolves would behave. The only way that wolves survive is in a pack, because everything that they want in terms of what they need for survival is bigger than them. So the only way a wolf can survive is if they work together to take down a bigger prey. And that's to me what you see is you see individuals coming together that have been together, many of them for, it could be as many as 8 years they have played together. How do they deal with an outsider? So how do they deal with someone who might come into or want to be in the pack, and that struggle between that single person and that team, and can you bring them in? Do you even accept? And then in adversity, if there's injury, how does one recover from that? How do they treat each other? Sometimes in a pack, the weakest one cannot survive, and the weakest one may have to go. So there is, to me, something, every time I have seen it and listened to it, and watched how it's grown to this almost creature-like content, it would seem very much as what I have read about wolves and how they survive. And in the end, how do they come together? How do they continue to then get together so that they can continue to survive as a team and as a group of women who are in this particular team as they move on? Yes?
I'm curious about your experiences as athletes and artists on the experiential difference moving from rehearsal, dress rehearsal, performance, practice, scrimmage, and game.
You're curious about the experience of that? I'll hop in. Something I love about being an athlete and an artist is the idea of process, just like how tangible the evolution is, the growth is from audition really, or like reading the script to, you know, closing, or you know, being introduced to a new skill and then like being able to apply that skill in practice. I think the most exciting part about it for me is how I'm changed as an athlete. Like, you can see your body change, you know, on season, off season. I'm sure you can like see that. You can see yourself become more skillful, but also as an artist, just like being able to delve deeper into a story. I think that as we work on stories also work on us, and they sort of become integrated into our being. So I just feel like I'm constantly evolving through these processes of being an actor and an athlete, which is exciting for me. I want to like I don't know who I'll be after the next show, or you know, the next, I don't know, competition or whatever. So yeah.
Yeah, just to piggyback off of that, I just really love the outcome of it all. We're in practice and we're going over something, and you'll just see it happen in the game so naturally that it was like we never even, you know, it was never even a struggle for us. So I would just say that, yeah, the outcome is just awesome to see, and it's really worth it to put in those hours and put in those practices, because that ultimately leads you to win that game or that scrimmage.
And I would say I entered all of this stuff quite late. My background was in teaching particularly physical education skills. And it wasn't until I was 37 that I was able to take any feedback at all. And as a part-time lecturer on campus, I decided, all right, you've got some time, do something. And I'd always looked at theater, and then I'd go take an art class instead. So one semester I thought, voice and diction, that sounds safe. So I decided to go to voice and diction class, and the teacher said, why are you here? And I said, well, before I die, I want to be on the stage. Oh, she says, they're auditioning for the children's theater. Go up and audition. Well, I don't know anything about auditioning. Oh, that's okay, they like beginners. So up I went to audition, and I got cast as the front end of a horse in a kabuki play. And thank goodness I was the front end. This was I could at least see where I was going. So off we went. This was children's theater. And we rehearsed. And the more we rehearsed, the more it seemed like sport. To go to practice, to go to rehearsal, was no different than the training one would do for sport. The hundreds and thousands of hours you spend lunging and taking lessons, and for my purposes, hitting the elevator button with the end of a weapon to see how accurate my point control could be, was no different from the training and the rehearsal that we were doing in practice. And the idea that for a longer running experience, to be able to take what you've done and then fix it, and then make it again, fix it, and make it again, and try to make it better, all seemed very much like athletics without the competition, except can you do it better the next time? So it seemed far more in common than what I was doing. I was teaching, and so you're getting up and you're sharing information, but that's not being the friend of a horse. That is not acting a character, and that's not, again, taking it out. And then the other thing that to me was fascinating is the importance of the arts, particularly for bringing art to young people. So many schools do not have arts programs. They may not have physical education. They may not have dance or music or choir. And here we had the opportunity to go to a school and present a play to children and bring arts to them, because I don't know how else you grow an audience. You know, if we want people to continue to enjoy the arts, we have to educate them about what they have to say. And there are many wonderful lessons, I think, that can be presented in the course of a production. And if nothing else, to see live theater. It isn't like anything else. To watch actors, it's so engaging. No matter what you're doing, all of a sudden you're sucked into it, and you're watching it, and you're engaging with those people. So I think it was just a wonderful opportunity. And as an educator teacher, to me, it felt so good to be able to sort of give something back and then be able to take that out to schools, because I think it's so important that we educate young people, not just about sports in general, but what the theater has to offer and what the arts have to offer, which often are the first things that are cut because of budgets. And yet I think it's the thing that makes us humane. So to me, it was very special, it was a very important thing to do. And I just very much appreciate having had the chance to take on that role.
I'll just add that, thinking about the journey, and I think when it starts, when you start to train, when you start a project, it's you can see the end. That's also why we do it, because we're going to share a product in a way where there's a performance at the end. We have a goal in mind. And then for me, I know all the things that it takes for us to reach that goal as the director. And something that I share with every cast that I have ever worked with, when it gets close to the end and people get tense and stressed or feeling like we don't have enough time or we didn't do the thing, a word of advice from a mentor of mine, Penny Metropolis, said, "We don't have a lot of time, so we have to go really, really slowly." And that is exactly how I work, which is if we rush to the end, it won't happen. So even if we have a little bit of time, we work really slowly so that we do make sure that we are, it's not about repetition, or it's not about doing it so many times. It's about getting it right once.
You know, and that's interesting you mentioned it, because it's the same thing I find in sword fighting. Is the students in sword fighting class want to rush, they want to go fast, and yet they don't have yet the control.
Right.
And there's something to be gained, one, for safety, but in going slowly. Going slowly helps you learn fast.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's it.
I had a military friend who would say to me, "Slow is smooth, and smooth is fast," and that's something that I carry with me. Being able to have like a focused, deliberate approach. Do you have fundamentals in soccer, like fundamental skills that you practice?
Yeah, I mean, we still practice all the time, just basic things. But for soccer, it's more about repetition too. I mean, we can do things wrong here and there, but it's just repetition. It's such a fast pace.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of the difference
Yeah,
too
sure.
between theater.
Right.
Is we're constantly working on the same things we've been working on since we were kids too.
Right.
So it's just constant repetition to get better.
Right.
And the lessons would be the same. I suspect that some of your players spent summers at sports camps training extra in order to get to where they are. And I suspect as performer actors, you've had teachers in your life that you've gone to take that vocal lesson or that dance lesson that you're going to
Still do.
as well.
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, that's what's so interesting about the training, because ultimately, I mean, even the game itself and even acting itself, there's some basics that we still need a reminder constantly. It's like, of course, we also intellectually know what's right. Of course we know, even when someone tells you, gives you the note, you know. But there's so many things that you're juggling in the moment that person, the outside eye saying, this is what you need to focus on, or this is what we need, which just seems so basic. That's part of the art, I guess, or the craft.
So if you had to reflect on a teacher that was meaningful, a person who was meaningful to you, that person who taught the lesson, whatever that is, who would you like to give credit to?
My father. My father's the best teacher I know, and he's a teacher. He's an English professor. I think he was my first acting teacher. So we're Beninese. My parents are immigrants from Benin, West Africa. My father is an English professor and an author and also a storyteller. So I grew up watching him perform traditional West African folk tales at libraries, community centers, classrooms, outside, parks. And I remember just being like like it was interesting watching this man I knew so well become like a monkey, you know, and like start talking and just being just like
Wow.
fascinated by him, and just it's funny because I've never seen him rehearse, but he spent a lot of time in his office, so he's probably doing that then. But just like the courage he had, and the attention, and how much he and just watching him come alive on stage, that's something that I think that planted the seed for me, and it's something that I always remember him whenever I like step on stage or even start preparing for an audition to see, because he just has this like centered, calm grace about him that I'm like still working to cultivate in myself. Yeah, he's the best teacher I know.
Yeah, I would have to say my parents, especially my mom. She's always kind of pushed me to be my best, and even when I don't want to do something, she's always there saying, "Do it, do it, do it." Especially during the whole recruiting process, it's just constant. Every single week, you're on a call with a different coach. So just pushing me to, hey, you need to check in with this person. Hey, like, you should probably call them, talk to them this week. It was always that, and it was always something that was very stressful for me too. I was always nervous. It happened at such a young age. But she was always there pushing me through it, and even just at every single game, she was there. She didn't know anything about soccer. She played when she was little, but she was always there supporting me, and I just felt like I made her proud throughout all the years.
Yeah, it's a tough one. So many wonderful people. I would like to lift my my graduate school mentor, Gabor Tompa, Romanian director, and he was really hard on me, and it taught me a lot, because I've been in such supportive environments, and sometimes wondering, am I doing anything right? So and so his tough love of looking at my work and really caring, and sometimes it was just hard to hear it sometimes, but his voice is in my head constantly, and I know all that critique was because he knew I could do it, and he knew I had what it takes to be a professional director, and he pushed me to it. So I feel a lot of gratitude. I would like to share a lot of gratitude towards him.
I'd have to thank my first fencing coach, Mrs. Joan Kowaleski. Although I don't know that she knew much more than one chapter ahead in the book, which you don't find out when initially you have someone who's helping you. She was wonderful. She took me under her wing. She would throw me in the car with her, and off we would go to tournaments together. I never really had that with another person. She certainly believed in me. She sent that lesson once I was not happy with how I did, and I had seen other people throw equipment. And so I thought, well, I'm upset I didn't do well, and I chucked down my mask, and her comment was, "I thought more of you than that." Oh, it was like a knife that you take with you. It's like, oh, wow, okay, well, that didn't work. But she also was the person, when I wanted to change sports, she was my academic advisor. And I thought, well, I'm going to play tennis instead. I'll do some. Oh, no, keep fencing. No one fence. Physical education people don't fence. It's a good thing to stay in. Actually it was, because there were very few physical education people who ever studied fencing. And I know it got me my first couple jobs at university, was having this particular skill. That lasted a long, long, long time, and who knew that it would take me to teach sword fighting in the Old Globe Theater. So you never know where your sports and stuff are going to take you.
Yeah.
Other questions from the audience? Yes?
Hi. Really awesome production that you're putting on. And what are some, given everything that you're doing, what are some takeaways or maybe a lesson or values that you want people to come out of when they listen to your show?
Right. So the question related to what are you taking out of the appreciation of sharing, but what do you take out of a production when you're involved in a show?
Or what do you want the audience members to?
Oh, what do you want the audience members to take away from a production? You just finished a production. that I had the pleasure of seeing. What would you like your audience members to take away from your show?
That's a great question. I love using theater as a tool to challenge the way people think. I feel like going to the theater is like going to the gym, but for empathy and compassion. Yeah. Just because being able to like really zoom in on the lives of people that you might not be exposed to otherwise. I can't not tell you the last time I was around a group of 16-year-old girls, but to sit in rehearsal on Monday and be reminded like, wow, once I was that.
Yes.
And like these are the things that are important to them. And just to see the human condition in that way, I think it really brings us together. I think it deepens our capacity for compassion, empathy. I think it challenges our biases. I think it helps us connect with each other better. That's what I, as a theater maker, that's my goal.
So Jenna, as an athlete, apart from a win, what is it that you want the audience, your spectators, to take away from your game?
Yeah, that's a hard one. I would say that, we have trained for this one moment. We have put all our focus towards this one moment. And so for us to kind of like come out here and give it our all and show, kind of the crowd that we've been working towards this is just really cool to me. Like I said, there's things that we do in practices that are kind of tricky and seem hard at first, and in the game it will flow so effortlessly. And I feel like that's not what a lot of people pick up on too, is that there's so much more behind the game and that we do behind the scenes. We're not always playing soccer too. We're looking at film, or we're in the weight room, or we're running hill sprints. So there's so much more behind the game, and I feel like a lot of people don't see that.
When it's done well, you don't.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. When it's done well, it just happens.
Yeah.
But there is a lot that's happening behind the scenes.
Yeah.
That's for sure. Jessica, what do you want people to take away from your work when they see it?
I think great theater, or great, I work in a lot of several mediums. I hope that my work starts conversation is number one for me. And I hope, especially from this production, I'll say, is that I want people to think about who's on their team, who's supporting them, who do they need, and if people after this production want to, see those people or make those calls or send those texts or like those posts of the people that are on their team, then my work is done. If we just look around and say, who's here for me? Who's here for me, and who's my community, and who's my team? Because I think about that constantly through this production. It's like, who, in a world where there's so many things going on, who's supporting me, who's got my back? Identifying that for themselves. I think that's important.
I want to thank our panelists for coming here today. So let's give it up for our panelists.
Yay.
Thank you, Eric. I understand you have an announcement you'd like to make?
Yes, so thank you everyone for coming. As a reminder, the Wolves opens this Friday, March 18th, and it will run through March 24th. You can pick up tickets on the website of the School for Theater, Television, and Film. And also for those who registered for this panel discussion, we'll be sending out a brief survey, and we'd be grateful for you to respond, as it will help us improve our programming. And we encourage you to attend, of course, other events sponsored by One SDSU and Arts Alive SDSU. So let's thank once again our fabulous panelists. Thank you. And enjoy the production and enjoy the rest of your week. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. That was great.
Yay.